why can helicopters land in small spaces, or can they land in small spaces, and what are the kind of limitations on that? Well, again, lots of questions that we get asked on a daily basis. So the flight characteristics of a helicopter will enable it to take off and land vertically. So go up, go down, and we don't need forward momentum to give us lift generated over the wings as an aeroplane does, because we've got a rotating main rotor with rotor blades, mini wings, let's say, that are rotating around. It's that rotation that creates the airflow over the rotor blades, which generate the lift and total rotor thrust. Okay, and that enables us to move the helicopter in different directions, forward, backward, side to side, and also go vertically up or down, and any combination of those. So can we land in small spaces? Yes, up to a certain point. In fact, we can land pretty much anywhere dependent on the surroundings. So let's just say, for example, you wanted to land a helicopter inside a very small garden, a very small area that is just surrounded by a few bushes. Then yes, you could land a helicopter in that very easily, and these are low bushes, for example. But if that surrounding area is surrounded by very tall trees or very tall buildings, then that's going to be a bit of a problem, because you've got two issues that you have to contend with. First of all, there's something called recirculation. Recirculation means that when the rotors are turning and the helicopter's in flight, the airflow is going to pass through the main rotor, and it's going to be pushed down and out. So as it pushes down and out towards the surface, then it's going to rotate up. It's going to hit the buildings, hit the tall trees, and come back up, and they recirculate into the top of the rotor, which creates a lot of turbulence. Also dramatically reduces the lift to a certain point as well, but dramatically increases the drag as well. So what will happen is that you'll start to descend, or the helicopter will start to descend uncontrollably. The natural tendency will be to try and raise the collective to increase the thrust, so you go up, but that just exacerbates the whole thing. So you can actually get caught in hurtling towards the ground uncontrollably. If you're descending into a very tight area vertically with a high rate of descent, zero airspeed, for example, then you're going to get into, or potentially get into, something called vortex ring state, or settling with power, where similar kind of thing to recirculation, where you just where you're descending uncontrollably. You're getting a lot of turbulence over the blades, so there's not enough power, engine power, to get into clean air to overcome that turbulence. So effectively, if you raise the collective, you exacerbate it even more, and you hurtle towards the ground, and accidents have happened this way as well. So these are the kind of things that we would look at, and we would always be vigilant of if we're landing in very small spaces. Now, can helicopter pilots land helicopters in small spaces? Yes, but they have to be extra vigilant, not only of the area immediately surrounding the area to land in, but also we've got to know if there's a legal requirement. Is there a minimum size area that we need to land in? So let's just say, for example, it depends on countries, it depends on an operator. There might be a legislation that says a particular size is required. The operator, the company, might say, no, our operating standards that we land in a certain size area at all times. So you've got to make sure that you're doing it legally, let's say, and also there are no hazards. The hazards of surrounding buildings, surrounding structures, or big trees that could cause this recirculation, or cause the helicopter to descend really quickly and uncontrollably. We've got to be careful of any foreign object damage, any debris in the area, people, animals that might suddenly come in to surge towards the landing area, anything that can be picked up and thrown towards anybody, causing injury to people. Anything that the downwash of the helicopter will cause damage to any vehicle, any fencing, let's say, any property, housing, that kind of thing. And certainly anything that the downwash will cause potential harm to any person who wants to stand by. So yeah, helicopters can land in small spaces, and there's always going to be limitations depending on the time of the day, time of the year, in terms of there'll be different weather characteristics that may determine whether you should be landing in a tight area, and I'm primarily considering wind and turbulence. So if you've got an open area, for example, that's got a very small sort of perimeter obstruction, that is, let's say it's not a solid obstruction, let's just say it's some low bushes, but you want to land in there, then that might be perfectly fine to do so. And even if there's strong winds coming from a crosswind or a headwind, you're not going to generate a lot of turbulence, or those bushes won't generate a lot of turbulence. If you've got tall structures in the vicinity, let's say like buildings or trees, then that will generate a lot of turbulence. So it might be not very prudent to try and land in an area like that. So there are lots of operational limitations as well. For example, an operator might say, within this landing area, within a certain distance, you cannot have anything in there. There can't be any bushes, there can't be any tree stumps, there certainly can't be any walls, there can't be any rocks. Whereas others might say, no, as long as beneath the disc there is nothing, as long as you can stick the skids or the wheeled landing gear, you know, in a safe area, and there's nothing to contact the fuselage, they'd be absolutely fine. It depends. Country to country, operator to operator, there might be slight differences there. But essentially, you want a clean area to land in. You don't want any obstructions there. You certainly don't want to be landing in any area where there might be individual obstructions, let's say lampposts or signposts, for example, that are taller than the rotor, and you're going to get land in a very close obstruction where it might contact the rotor as well. So that's why there are usually limitations of landing in small spaces, and you've got to be a certain distance away from any obstruction regardless of the height. And sometimes even if those obstructions are below eye level or below the main rotor, they've got to be a certain distance away. So again, it depends on the operator, and this is not usually a manufacturer edict. This is more to do with potentially a regulation and most certainly an operator preference that will say you can do this and you can't do that. So there we go. Helicopters can land in certain spaces, land in small spaces. They can land just by the nature of the flight that helicopters have, but at the same time, there's always going to be limitations with landing in small areas. Right, if you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.